Welcome back, folks, and we have a heck of a show coming your way today. A look at just a few of the topics. In Louisiana, a woman is sentenced to life in prison for engaging in an alleged rape during a threesome. She gets a new trial. She gets reduced charges, and just a few days ago is found not guilty by a 12-person jury. In Florida, a man is jailed after he picked the wrong guy to threaten at a local car wash with an axe. A woman in Tennessee takes doxing to a whole new level when she posts a man's unredacted arrest warrant online. In Utah, we have a verdict in the Kori Richins murder case, and we have an update to the Georgia case involving a teacher killed during a high school prank. These stories and so much more coming your way today on Crime Wire Weekly. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And we're going to start off here at home. We're going to start off in Livingston Parish, Louisiana, right where we record out of right now. And I'm going to tell you about a Livingston Parish jury who on Tuesday, March 17th, 2026, found Melanie Curtin not guilty on all charges of simple rape and video voyeurism after deliberating for about 3 hours. And this was at the end of an 8-day retrial. Tears of joy filled the courtroom as a unanimous 12-person jury delivered the verdict. Curtin, who had faced up to 25 years in prison if convicted, broke down emotionally alongside her mother, fiance, and youngest son. Quote, "I am so thankful for the people that prayed for me and fought for me, and I'm looking forward to freedom," Curtin told reporters outside of the courthouse. When asked what she had to say to Livingston Parish, she added, quote, "I'm never coming back," and I can't blame her there. The case dates back to November of 2014 when a video recorded at the home of the then Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office Deputy Dennis Perkins captured a sexual encounter involving Curtin, Perkins, and another woman. Prosecutors allege the woman was unconscious and unable to consent, with Curtin assisting in that assault. The video was discovered some 5 years later during the sprawling investigation into Perkins and his wife, Cynthia Perkins. Now, I want to note, and it's important to say, these timelines did not cross. Melanie Curtin was related to none of these child sex cases, and that's very important because it has been conflated and mixed up, and people think that those cases relate. They do not. Curtin was arrested in February of 2020. Now, in her first trial, she was convicted of first-degree rape, sentenced to life in prison without parole. However, the Louisiana First Circuit Court of Appeal overturned that conviction in 2023. They ruled that the trial judge improperly restricted her defense and allowed prejudicial evidence, which violated her constitutional right to a fair trial. The retrial proceeded on reduced charges of simple rape and video voyeurism. Defense attorney Jenna Wheat argued successfully that evidence showed Curtin was another victim of Perkins' manipulative, say that 3 times fast, behavior. "We are happy and thankful that the jury had finally recognized Melanie as one of Dennis Perkins' many victims and that she can finally put this saga behind her," Wheat said after the verdict. The defense called just one witness, though a very powerful witness, in roughly 13 minutes of testimony, describing Perkins' pattern of instructing his partners to pretend to be asleep during encounters. Curtin did not testify. The prosecution, led by the Louisiana AG's office, maintained the 18-minute video, which was played twice for jurors, with the courtroom cleared, incidentally, each time clearly showed non-consensual acts. The victim testified she had no memory of the night and only learned of the assault when shown the video years later. Assistant Attorney General Erica Moore expressed her disagreement with the verdict, but respect for the jury's decision, noting this case was tried in the court of public opinion and the media before it got to court. Attorney General Liz Murrill issued a statement expressing profound disappointment. Quote, "After a retrial, years of delays, extensive court proceedings, and other factors, this is not the outcome we had hoped for, and our disappointment is a grave understatement. The victim in this case endured horrific abuse at the hands of Dennis Perkins and courageously testified about that trauma. I'm so sorry the system failed her. Murrell praised the victim's courage in the prosecutor's efforts while criticizing court rulings that said weakened Louisiana rape shield law and a media campaign she believes influenced the process. She emphasized that Dennis Perkins, convicted of heinous sex crimes including involving minors and sentenced to 100 years, and Cynthia Perkins remained behind bars. Curtin, as I said, was never accused of involvement in any crimes related to children. Judge Brian Abels did preside over this trial, and the verdict marked more than a decade-long legal ordeal for Curtin, who maintained her innocence throughout.
Yeah. This one was a very, very, it almost feels like a personal one because it was local. So many people around here, I know, made opinions based on what the media, put out there. That's all you would know. And that goes both ways, too. I feel like there was media coverage that was shedding every party in good light and in bad light. I felt like it was kind of all over the place. But the facts are that Jim and I dedicated our time to go sit through every single day of this trial. We took meticulous notes. I know I did. I saw you taking meticulous notes. And I have to tell you that the jury got this one right. This jury got it right.
Yeah, there was not evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
Not even close. By
any stretch, in my opinion. There were a lot of holes in this case, a lot of unanswered questions. And in this country, you have to have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to convict somebody.
Yeah, and I can tell you that I never followed the first trial, and I did follow the second one because I was, there's curiosity. You want to know. You're curious about it. And what I can tell you is that I had preconceived notions before going into this trial to take notes. And my jaw literally dropped at certain points that the testimony on the prosecution side, I think, almost sealed the deal for me that it was not guilty more than anything.
Yeah.
Their witnesses were just not helpful to their own case.
Yeah.
I don't know how you saw it, but that's how I saw it.
Well, it's apparently how the jury saw it.
Yeah.
For sure, because it was unanimous. It wasn't a hung jury. It wasn't, 5 one way and 7 the other? Or,
right.
This was a unanimous not guilty verdict, which I think speaks volumes to proving the case.
Yeah. And I can tell you,
and they're difficult cases.
Yeah.
These consent cases. They're difficult cases. There's
it's not black and white.
Fine lines there on a lot of cases that involve consent.
Yeah.
And so I felt like the verdict that was reached was the same verdict I had in my head based off of the evidence that I heard in court.
Yeah.
Period.
And I know I'll add this, and this is a personal opinion. I'm sure other people don't share it, but I never feared the government before this trial. And I can tell you it instilled a little bit of further reaching fear in me that things could go this far with not a lot of proof.
Yeah. And, what Kelly's referencing here, for those that may be unfamiliar, I mentioned it in the article, but she was in prison for life. Yeah. And it was several questionable rulings that created this new trial under reduced charges, because the first case was thrown out. But I can only imagine having to resign your brain to, I'm in jail for life. She didn't foresee this appeal coming and her having another shot at proving her innocence in this case, which is really an oxymoron in itself, because you shouldn't have to prove your innocence.
Right. You're innocent until proven guilty.
It's just the opposite, and it's to avoid things like this from occurring. Now, what occurs in the public spectrum, look, this is a social media world, You are not going to be able to control people's opinions on social media.
Right.
And we've seen that in many cases throughout the country. Yeah. And the majority of the people on this jury, from what I understand, did not have familiarity with this particular case. As a matter of fact, one juror was interviewed afterwards and said they had no familiarity with Melanie Curtin at all.
Well, and there's something else here, too, that I think is interesting to a concept that we as people could at least consider, is that when the appellate court originally ruled that, look, basically the deck was stacked against Melanie Curtin because of some rulings of evidence that was allowed and was not allowed, and they felt like it was an error the way that was done. They must have been correct, because what are the chances of someone going from life in prison to the new trial with these new rules in place of what can be allowed and not allowed, and then a 12-person jury unanimously say this person is not guilty? That must lend itself to that the decision made by the appellate court must have been the correct decision for them to flip-flop that hard, for a jury to flip-flop that hard.
Yes, and while we believe she's not guilty and that jury believed that she is not guilty, it's important to note that the not guilty verdict and an acquittal are the same thing. And what that means in a legal definition is that this case was not proved beyond a reasonable doubt. There's only 3 people in this particular case that know the absolute, well, 4, because I'm a believer and I believe God knows the absolute truth. Yeah. But aside from all that, it's the accused, the accuser, and Dennis Perkins, who is not talking. So, those are really the only definitive people that know. But based off of the evidence shown in trial, I wasn't convinced.
Nor was I.
And
so what I would hope for, and every case is a learning lesson, and when you are specifically going every day to court, it's very different, I think, than just seeing the headlines every day. And something else I learned that I think I already knew, but there are certain media outlets that posted the polar opposite of what was said in court. And some of them were spot on and were 100% correct. But there were some media outlets, when I tell you the absolute antithesis of what was said in court, my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
And so this is where the due diligence of the public should come in. You should. I know we don't all have time to go to trials, right? And listen to them and all that. But before you get behind a keyboard and you start professing your beliefs on something when you have no foundation other than a headline, it taught me a lesson.
Yeah.
Better take a step back. You better watch what you say, because you can be proven dead wrong based on evidence presented to you.
Right.
So.
And one more thing on my end before we stop talking about this. Look, I was there personally as a citizen of Livingston Parish, a concerned citizen of Livingston Parish, who wanted to know what occurred based off of the facts that I saw in the trial and the looks that I was given and people I was with. I didn't care too much for. This is, let me tell you something I fully believe is we are in open court in the people's house, and everybody should encourage the public to participate in the court system, even if it's from the standpoint of a spectator learning more about the court system, which is what I was there for. I wanted to know what occurred in this case in my parish. Okay. And I had a lot of people from outside of this parish that were looking at me as if I didn't belong there, as if I was an enemy.
I felt like an enemy.
I hadn't formed an opinion either way. And these people were looking at me as if I was there to be critical of every step of the process. I didn't have an opinion one way or the other when I showed up. So I didn't care for that. And so if any of those people are listening, don't make people feel uncomfortable for going to court and participating in the system.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to it, though, and tell you this. I felt genuinely like I was public enemy number 1 for even questioning the prosecution's case, which that's not why I was there either. I wasn't there to question their case. I was there to get the facts of the case.
Right.
And I agree. I felt like there were some intimidation factors that were being employed there. I don't think it was right, and I didn't appreciate it. because I didn't do that to anyone else. I wasn't there to intimidate other people. I was there to just listen. And my mere presence made others feel that necessary that they should glare or should make me feel like I shouldn't be there. It's dead wrong. And you're right. It's the people's court.
That's right. And there's no two other people who are more supporters of law enforcement. Heck, the Attorney General I voted for. Yeah. I support her. I like her. Yeah. I agree with 99.9% of what she says. Yeah.
They're kicking ass.
I'm not an enemy.
Yeah, they're kicking ass, getting all these fraud people arrested, getting Medicaid benefits. I mean, she's slaying it. If you watch, I follow their feed, getting all these child predators and all of this off the streets. Kudos to you. Job well done. But there's also some cases that aren't that strong. And maybe it's a learning lesson for everybody.
Right.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Tennessee. A 48-year-old woman has been arrested and charged with identity theft after allegedly posting an unredacted copy of a man's arrest warrant on social media, exposing sensitive personal information. Emily, who goes by Emma Berger, was taken into custody following an investigation by the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. Authorities say Berger posted the document on March 11th to the Facebook group Uncensored Voices of Monroe County Revamped, which included Mitchell Cook's full name, date of birth, driver's license number, and social security number. Cook, the subject of the warrant, reported to police that he had not authorized the release of his personal details. Berger reportedly later removed the original post, redacted the sensitive information, and then reposted it, admitting in the new post that she had initially shared it unredacted. Monroe County Sheriff Tommy Jones explained in a statement, while many county records are public records and can be viewed by the public, certain information contained within those records is protected by law and is not permitted to be publicly disclosed, including personal identifying information such as social security numbers and driver's license numbers. He added that the MCSO's investigation determined the unredacted posting constituted a criminal offense. The warrant originated from the Monroe County Clerk of Court's electronic system, accessed by an authorized individual, according to Jones. The clerk is identified as Dwayna Martin. An ongoing probe is examining how Berger obtained the document. Berger was booked into the Monroe County Jail and released after posting a $3,000 bond. It remains unclear if she has obtained legal representation. Her mugshot has been released by authorities.
So, how did she get this?
That's the question.
Unredacted warrant. And
that's the question.
What risk do you take from posting an unredacted warrant? I mean, it's a warrant for arrest. I would have assumed that was public record.
I would not have, because I think about me and what information would I not want released to the public? Well, my social security number, if there was a credit card number used in the fraud, I wouldn't want my credit card number out there. I wouldn't want my address, if I was a victim, put out there. So this is one of those situations where I would guess maybe she's ignorant of the law, realized it when someone pointed it out, went back and redacted it, but it was too late. You've already put it out there. So I don't know necessarily if it was malicious, but it was stupid.
Right. At the very least. Is there a law against being stupid?
Well, and I can tell you this too. I'm actually working on a case right now, and right there on national television, they posted a photo during the trial, and it had the social security card right there because it was a piece of evidence.
Sure.
And it was unredacted and right there on national television. So to me, it begs the question, though, why can they post, but why can they stream it on national television and not catch charges? Yet this woman obtained the document and posted it and does collect charges. I'm just curious, and I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
I don't know the law on that.
I don't either. And maybe they did catch charges and you're just not aware of it.
Maybe, but they haven't taken it down.
Well,
she did.
They didn't then. Yeah. Well,
makes you wonder.
But
she shouldn't have gotten her hands on it in the first place, and there needs to be an investigation there.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Florida man jailed. We're going to tell you about this wild story. A 36-year-old man, he's behind bars after following a bizarre confrontation at a local car wash where he brandished an axe at two teenage employees, only to be subdued by one of those workers using mixed martial arts techniques. And I actually saw this video, and this dude got his ass whooped, to say it bluntly. Bryce Thayer was arrested. This was at the Tidal Wave Auto Spa. This was in Ocala, Florida, after deputies from the Marion County Sheriff's Office, they responded to reports of an armed individual threatening staff. Now, not only was he armed, but it was with an axe, and we'll get to that. According to authorities, Thayer arrived at the car wash as employees were closing for the day. He was told to leave the property. He gets pissed off. He removes an axe from his backpack. He approaches two brothers, 18-year-old Lyndon Pino and his 16-year-old sibling, in a threatening manner. Surveillance footage captured the moments. Thayer advanced with the axe raised, and this prompted Pino, who trains in MMA, to lunge forward. His younger brother grabbed the weapon while Pino executed a takedown, throwing elbows to the face, pinning Thayer to the ground, and then he applied what's known as a body triangle, followed by a rear naked choke, and he restrained him until law enforcement arrived. He said, quote, "I was locking up all the doors. I heard screaming, someone yelling. He walked up through the tunnel, and that's when he tells him, 'You got to leave, man. You got to leave.' And you see that in the video. Then he lowered the axe, and that's when I shot a takedown," he said. He got on top of him, and y'all, it was UFC style.
FAFO, baby.
Yeah, and this is a teenager now, and he wasn't playing. Pino expressed relief at the outcome, saying he's thankful that he was the one closing with his brother and not somebody else, because he's able to protect his brother. And that's exactly what he did. And he said that Thayer got everything he deserved. Upon arrival, deputies found Thayer still restrained on the ground, took him into custody, and a search revealed a glass pipe used for methamphetamine in his possession. Thayer's mugshot showed significant bruising on his face due to the altercation, and you should be seeing that right now if you're watching the Patreon video version of this. Thayer faced 2 counts of felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill, which was kind of strange considering he had an axe. And he also had a count of possession of that glass pipe, drug paraphernalia, and he's being held in Marion County Jail on an $11,000 bond.
So,
which is
this makes me think
weird to me.
Yeah. This is something that makes me think about something I always said to my students when I was teaching. They would say, "Miss Jennings, can I ask you something?" I'd say, "Time out. Don't ask me. That's a felony. You can ask me, though." And I know they would always laugh at me, but, I'm like, look, asking somebody's wrong. And it was just a joke, but this is case in point right here. Don't ask somebody. Maybe because he said that he dropped the weapon down before he attacked him. Maybe that's where they got the without intent to kill. But you raise an axe at me, I'm assuming you're trying to kill me.
Yeah, you would think that's attempted murder right there. But he never... I'm not defending him, obviously, but in this case, I watched the video. He never picked it up and heck, he barely had time to get it out of his backpack. That guy was on him.
Good.
So
Hey,
shout out to him.
This kid right here is the prime example of every man should have the capability of being dangerous, but the authority to restrain it. And then that's when you use it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In his mugshot, y'all, his whole eye is closed.
Yeah, his nose might...
tell he got his ass whipped.
His nose might be pointing the wrong direction slightly, too. All right, so we've got a big update for you here. We discussed this case last week, and so I'm really excited to give you this update. All charges have been dismissed after 5 high school students involved in a senior prank that tragically resulted in the death of their math teacher when there was a crash after they were pulling this prank. The incident occurred on the evening of March 7th, 2026, when the teens, identified as Jaden Wallace, Aiden Hucks, Anna Luke, Ariana Cruz, and Elijah Tate Owens, arrived at Hughes's home in the Hall County as part of a senior prank tradition. According to the reports, the students were engaging in activities such as toilet papering or egging the property when Hughes, a 46-year-old teacher and coach at North Hall High School, gave chase in his car. During the pursuit, Hughes lost control of his vehicle, veered off the road, and struck a utility pole, sustaining fatal injuries. The teens, who were in 2 separate vehicles, reportedly stopped after witnessing the crash and attempted to render aid to Hughes before emergency services arrived. Despite their efforts, Hughes was pronounced dead at the scene. Initially, the students faced serious charges, including vehicular homicide for Wallace, who was driving one of the vehicles, as well as reckless driving, criminal trespass, and littering for all that were involved. However, on March 13th of 26, Hall County District Attorney Lee, I believe you would say Dara, requested the dismissal of all charges, which was approved by a judge in the Hall County Magistrate Court. The decision came after Hughes' widow, Laura Hughes, publicly expressed forgiveness and advocated for the charges to be dropped, emphasizing that the tragedy was an accident and that the students had shown remorse. Laura Hughes gets charges dismissed against 5 teens and husband's death, noted one report highlighting her role in the outcome. In a statement shared through her attorney, she conveyed a message of compassion, stating that she did not want the young lives of the students to be further ruined by the incident. Hughes was a well-loved figure in the community, known for his dedication to teaching math and coaching at North Hall High School.
Yeah, and this is, we covered this extensively last week, but this is a situation of an accident.
Yeah.
There was no intention here to hurt anybody, certainly kill anybody. It was just a prank that went wrong.
Yeah, and my understanding of this was wrong originally. My understanding was that he ran out to kind of like scare him, like, because he was excited, and like fell, and then they hit him. That is how I understood it, but this is totally different. I never knew he got in his car, drove it, and wrecked it. And even before I knew that, I thought, this is terrible. This is an accident, but even more so now.
Right.
So prayers for all of those people. And I think, my God, the grace that wife shows, because people want to point fingers when there's a tragedy. It makes you feel better.
That's right.
But she is obviously a woman of integrity.
Yeah.
And understanding.
All right, let's go to Utah, and we have another update from a case that we brought you last week. Of course, Kori Richins, who is a Utah children's book author. This is all over the news. She was in trial these past several weeks for the aggravated murder of her husband after a fentanyl poisoning. Well, a verdict has been reached and is guilty on all charges in that case. Prosecutors had argued that Richins fatally poisoned her husband, who is Eric Richins. He was 39 years old. She used a lethal dose of fentanyl, and she actually laced what I learned was a Moscow Mule cocktail. That was man. How did I go 51 years without knowing what a Moscow
I don't know.
Mule
It's just
was?
not your drink of choice.
Now I want to taste it.
What is your drink of choice usually?
Beer.
Yeah, that's why. You don't have these.
I have beer in a cold mug,
but this is a crafted drink,
Well, I'm going to try it.
We need to get fancier.
I'm going to have to make one. Okay. Copper mug.
Yes.
That I remember. So
we have to go do this for research purposes.
Yeah.
That's how we'll say.
That's right. We'll do it next episode. So Richins pleaded not guilty, of course, in this trial. She had nothing to lose. She maintained her innocence throughout those proceedings, and she even did a Dateline NBC interview where, she discussed all this, that she had nothing to do with this. It was pretty high profile even before the trial started because of the fact that she was a children's book author. And she is now going to spend the rest of her life in jail. The verdict was read. She hung her head. 25 years to life is her sentence, but she's probably going to be there for the rest of her life if I'm guessing. There is no death penalty that was sought in this case. So. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how you could even defend that fentanyl showed up. You don't accidentally get a hold of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
In all honesty, I haven't followed this trial closely because I like for trials to end and then I like to go process them myself and go through it without the pressure of having to remember everything. And so that's what I'm going to dive into and check out.
Yeah. And there was a ton of evidence in this case. And even down to the guy she bought the fentanyl from happened to be an informant.
There you go.
So the first thing he did was go to police and say, I sold some to this, suburban white lady.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
She gave me a copy of her book.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But hey, everyone. CrimeWire Weekly has moved to its own new channel.
We hope you've enjoyed this preview. To continue listening, please follow the link referenced in the description of this podcast.
Or simply search CrimeWire Weekly wherever you're listening.
And don't forget to follow the show so you can be alerted when new episodes drop.
Thanks for listening.